there's a moment many people don't talk about, not because it's dramatic, and not because it's painful in an obvious way, but because it's confusing. It's the moment when direction stops working, not when life falls apart, not when motivation disappears completely, but when the old ways of orienting yourself just stop producing energy. You still wake up, you still function, you still do what needs to be done, but something underneath has changed. The push isn't there anymore, and that can feel unsettling. Most people are taught that when direction fades, something is wrong, that you've lost purpose, that you're burned out, that you need a new goal, a new plan, a new version of yourself. So when direction stops working, the instinct is to replace it, to search, to fix, to motivate yourself back into motion. But often, none of that works, and that's the part people don't understand. Because this isn't about losing direction, it's about outgrowing it. Direction once gave your life structure. It helped you make decisions. It helped you endure discomfort. It helped you believe that effort was leading somewhere meaningful. Direction made uncertainty tolerable. Even if you didn't know exactly where you were going, you believed you were on the way. That belief carried a lot of weight. It justified sacrifice. It explained exhaustion. It made waiting feel purposeful. But there comes a point where direction no longer supplies that energy. You may notice it subtly at first. You set a goal and it doesn't spark anything. You imagine a future outcome and it feels flat. You try to get yourself moving and nothing responds. You might tell yourself you're just tired, or distracted, or unmotivated. So you rest, you reset, you try again, but the spark doesn't come back. This is usually where frustration sets in, because you're doing what used to work, and it's not working anymore. Direction stops motivating you. Not because you failed, but because your relationship to life has changed. And that change doesn't announce itself clearly. It just shows up as a quiet resistance to being aimed. You might notice that planning feels heavier than it used to. Not difficult, just strangely unnecessary. You might notice that future goals don't feel compelling. Not wrong, just distant. You might notice that you're less interested in becoming someone, less interested in arriving. And that can be unsettling, especially if you've built your life around movement, around progress, around the idea that you're going somewhere. When direction stops working, people often panic quietly. They don't collapse. They keep functioning. But inside, there's a question forming. If I'm not moving towards something, what am I doing? That question can feel dangerous because we're taught that direction equals meaning, that without direction, life becomes empty. So when direction fades, the fear isn't just about motivation. It's about relevance. Am I stuck? Am I drifting? Am I wasting my life? But here's the thing most people don't realize. Direction doesn't stop working because you've lost your way. It stops working because you no longer need it to function. Life has already learned how to move through you without being pushed. This is not a collapse. It's a transition, but it doesn't feel like one, because transitions are usually framed as steps towards something new. This one isn't. This is the space where the old framework dissolves before a new one announces itself. And that space can feel disorienting. You're not lost, but you're not being pulled forward either. You're still living, but without the internal engine that used to drive you. That can feel like something has gone wrong, but nothing has. Direction was a tool, a useful one, but it was never the source of life. It was the source of pressure. Pressure to move, pressure to progress, pressure to justify effort. When direction fades, that pressure goes with it. And without pressure, life feels different, quieter, less urgent, and that quiet can be misinterpreted as emptiness. But it isn't. It's space. The problem is, most people don't know how to live in that space. We're not taught how to exist without aiming. So when direction stops working, the instinct is to replace it immediately, to find a new purpose, a new identity, a new framework. But doing that often makes things feel worse, because the part of you that outgrew direction isn't interested in another one. That part isn't lazy. It isn't broken. It's simply done being pulled. You may notice that you still act. You still respond to responsibilities. You still make decisions. But you're no longer orienting your life around a future payoff. You're responding to what's here, and that's a profound shift, but it's rarely recognized as one. Instead, people label it as stagnation, or loss of ambition, or being stuck, and that mislabeling creates unnecessary suffering, because you start fighting yourself. You try to force motivation back. You try to convince yourself that you should want more, that you should feel driven, that you should have a direction. And when that doesn't work, you start questioning yourself. What's wrong with me? Why don't I care like I used to? Why doesn't this matter anymore? These questions assume that caring must look a certain way, that motivation must feel like forward pull. But motivation can also feel like responsiveness, not pull, contact. You move when something calls for movement, not because you're chasing an outcome. This kind of movement is quieter, and because it's quieter, it's often overlooked. But it's still movement. Direction stops working when life no longer needs to be steered, when your system has learned how to respond without being forced. This doesn't mean you'll never have goals again. It means goals are no longer the organizing principle. They come and go. They're situational, not existential. And that's a relief you may not recognize right away, because relief can feel like emptiness at first. When pressure drops, there's a vacuum, not because something is missing, but because something heavy has been removed, and you're not used to the absence. This episode isn't here to tell you what replaces direction. That comes later, and not as a concept, but as lived experience. For now, it's enough to recognize this moment for what it is. Not failure, not laziness, not loss of purpose, but a shift in how life moves through you. If direction has stopped working for you lately, if motivation feels irrelevant instead of absent, if you're still living, still showing up, but without the push, you're not behind, you're not broken, you're in the space between, and this season is about that space. Not fixing it, not explaining it away, just staying with it long enough for it to make sense on its own. If this reflection helped you recognize something you've been quietly experiencing, you're welcome to stay with the season as it unfolds. Liking the video helps it reach others who may be confused by this same shift and think they're doing something wrong. And if someone you care about seems fine on the outside but strangely unmotivated underneath, you're welcome to share this with them, only if it feels right. Direction doesn't stop working because you've failed. It stops working because life no longer needs to be pushed. And that's where something new begins, even if it doesn't look like it yet.